All right, everyone. Let's get ready to dive into the world of human resources. HR.
Ooh.
Fun. I know, right? It's a core part of any business, really, whether it's big or small.
It is. It is.
And we've got you covered today because we're going to be looking at all sorts of different materials.
Yeah.
You know, like slides from your intro to business course.
Sure.
Textbooks, excerpts. We even got our hands on a lecture recording.
Wow, going all out.
We are going all out today, that's for sure.
That's great.
But yeah, our mission today is to really cut through, all that theoretical jargon that you might find in these materials.
It can be a bit dry.
It can be. And we want to give you a practical understanding of HR.
Absolutely.
Why it matters in the business world and how it impacts you.
Yeah.
As a future business pro.
I think that's really important. And, when I think about HR and, when people are first learning about it, it's so often misunderstood.
Yeah.
Especially when you're just starting out in the business world.
Yeah.
Everyone thinks it's just paperwork and, disciplining employees. But it's so much more dynamic than that.
So, what does HR really look like then beyond those stereotypes?
Well, think of it this way. HR is really the bridge between a company's goals and its most valuable asset. It's people.
Okay.
So if a business wants to grow and thrive, it needs to invest in its workforce. And that's where talent management comes in. Attracting top talent, developing their skills, and creating a culture where they can flourish.
Yeah, but isn't that what all companies should be doing anyway?
You would think so, right?
Yeah.
But in theory, yes. But it's really HR's job to put these ideas into action.
Right.
They're the ones who use these principles of organizational behavior to understand how people work best, how teams can function effectively, how to create a positive and productive work environment.
Right.
So it's kind of like the science behind getting the best out of people while making sure they still feel valued and motivated.
So they're not just robots, basically.
Yeah.
Okay, so where does all the legal stuff come in?
Yes, the legal stuff. So HR professionals, they have to navigate this complex web of regulations.
Yeah.
Everything from, anti-discrimination laws to employee rights and safety standards. So, they're kind of like the guardians of fairness. They're the ones who make sure that everyone's treated equally and that the company is operating ethically and legally.
So even if a company has, really good intentions.
Yeah.
They need HR to make sure that they're actually following the rules.
Absolutely. And, this is especially important for you as you're starting your careers. Understanding your rights as an employee is empowering. So whether you're negotiating your salary or navigating, tricky workplace dynamics or even just recognizing red flags during a job search.
Right.
Having that HR knowledge can really give you a leg up.
It's like having an insider's guide to the working world.
Exactly.
Okay, so speaking of landing that dream job, let's talk about how companies actually find the right people.
Well, it's definitely not just about, posting a job ad and hoping for the best.
Right.
Companies are getting a lot more creative with their recruiting strategies, especially with the rise of social media and online platforms. I mean, think about it. LinkedIn industry-specific websites, even targeted ads on platforms that you use every day.
Wait, so that targeted ad that I saw for a marketing internship on Instagram that could have been strategically placed by an HR team.
Absolutely. It's all part of, reaching potential candidates where they're already spending their time.
Wow.
So, they're also leveraging things like employee referrals, which is why networking is so important.
So my professor isn't just blowing smoke when they go on and on about building your network.
No, they're not. It could actually lead to a job opportunity down the line.
Even as a student?
Even as a student.
Okay, wow.
And as you're kind of exploring, different potential employers.
Yeah.
Think about what kind of company culture you would thrive in. Do you want to work for a company that mainly promotes from within, nurturing talent that they already have?
Okay.
Or one that, actively seeks out fresh perspectives from outside hires? Both approaches have their pros and cons.
It's like choosing your adventure path in the business world.
Exactly.
Well, our materials also delve into a topic that I think, unfortunately, is still very relevant today, which is discrimination in hiring.
Yeah, it's a reality that, we can't ignore, but thankfully, we have legal safeguards like the EEOC.
Yeah, the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission.
Exactly.
And from our readings, it seems like they have a pretty broad scope.
They do. They enforce federal laws that prohibit discrimination based on a wide range of characteristics. Race, religion, gender, age, disability, you name it.
Okay.
They're there to make sure that everyone has a fair shot at employment opportunities.
Wow.
regardless of their background.
So let's say I encountered discrimination during a job application.
Yeah.
What can I actually do about it?
Well, documentation is key. So keep records of, any interactions, emails, job postings that suggest discriminatory practices. And then you can file a charge with the EEOC and they will investigate the matter.
Okay.
And, potentially take legal action against the employer if they find evidence of wrongdoing.
So you have options if you face unfair treatment.
You do.
Okay, so we've talked about, finding that job.
Yeah.
But how do companies make sure that you don't become just another cog in the machine,
Right.
Once you're hired?
Right.
And that's where I think training and development comes in.
Yeah, absolutely. Think of it as an impairment. Investing in your employees through training and development is a win-win for everyone. Employees gain valuable skills and knowledge,
Right.
which boosts their confidence and, makes them more valuable assets to the company.
Makes sense.
And the company benefits from a more skilled and productive and engaged workforce.
So our professor actually shared some examples of companies that are known for their training programs.
Oh, yeah.
Like Starbucks. They basically have a university for baristas.
It's pretty incredible.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And it's not just about making a good latte, right?
Yeah.
It's about, instilling a sense of pride and professionalism.
Absolutely.
And then there's another great example, Darden Restaurants.
Yes.
The folks behind Olive Garden and Longhorn Steakhouse.
Yeah.
And they go above and beyond with diversity training.
That's great.
Yeah.
Really important.
And it's all about making sure that, all employees feel valued and respected.
Yeah.
So it's not just about the technical stuff.
No, not at all.
It's about fostering a positive and inclusive company culture.
Absolutely.
What are some other things that companies are doing to, create these great places to work?
Yeah.
Besides just the paycheck, of course.
Well, there's a lot of buzz about company perks and benefits.
Yeah.
And some companies are getting seriously creative to attract and retain top talent. But before we go there, I think it's important to talk about something that's often overlooked, which is diversity in the workplace.
Right? It's not just about ticking boxes.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
about having a mix of people from different backgrounds, experiences, and perspectives.
Exactly. And there's actually hard evidence to back up why this is so important.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So Deloitte found that companies with diverse leadership teams have significantly higher customer satisfaction
Wow.
and better financial performance.
That's huge.
It is. And McKinsey also found a strong correlation between diversity and innovation.
So it's not just like a feel-good initiative. It actually makes a difference in how a company performs.
It does, big time.
Can you give us a real-world example of a company that's doing this well?
Yeah. So Capital One is a great example.
Okay.
They have a very comprehensive diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging program.
Wow.
They've created these business resource groups for different affinity groups within the company. And that provides a space for employees to connect and share their perspectives and feel a sense of belonging.
That's cool.
It is. And they also prioritize hiring people from underrepresented backgrounds.
Yeah.
And they provide training on topics like unconscious bias.
So it's not just about having diversity in numbers.
Right.
It's about creating a culture where everyone feels valued and respected.
Exactly. And that's what ultimately leads to, higher engagement, better collaboration, and a more innovative and successful company.
Now let's talk about those perks and benefits.
Okay, let's do it.
I'm all ears.
All right. So, some companies are going above and beyond the standard healthcare and 401k plans. So, for example, Zillow offers free overnight breast milk shipping for new moms.
Wow, that's so thoughtful.
It is. It really shows that they're thinking about the needs of their employees.
What else?
Zappos is known for its quirky company culture. So they have nap rooms and pet insurance.
Oh, that's cool.
And then there's Airbnb, which offers employees $2,000 a year to travel the world.
Okay, now you're speaking my language.
Right.
That's amazing.
It's clear that companies are realizing that a happy employee is a productive employee.
Absolutely. And it's not just about flashy perks, right? It's about investing in employee well-being, providing flexibility, and creating a sense of purpose.
Exactly.
So while a big paycheck is nice, it's not the whole story.
No.
You have to think about what you value in a workplace.
Exactly. And, as you're exploring different career paths, think about what motivates you, what kind of environment you thrive in, and what kind of company culture aligns with your values.
It's all about finding that sweet spot where you can do your best work and feel good about it.
Absolutely.
But, let's be real.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to be stuck doing the same boring tasks day in and day out.
No way.
How do companies actually make jobs more engaging and fulfilling?
Right. So that's where job design comes in.
Okay.
And it's about structuring work in a way that is motivating and challenging and meaningful.
Hmm.
So one approach is job rotation, which we kind of touched on earlier.
Yeah.
And that allows employees to try out different roles within the company to broaden their skill set and, get a better understanding of how different departments work together.
So instead of being stuck in like the customer service department forever,
Right.
you might get a chance to spend some time in marketing or sales.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then there's job enlargement, which is about adding more tasks to a job,
Okay.
but at a similar skill level. So, if you're working as a cashier, you might also be trained to help with stocking shelves or assisting customers on the sales floor.
Okay.
So it just adds variety and helps you develop, a more well-rounded skill set.
It's like giving you more ingredients to work with.
Yeah,
So your job becomes less repetitive.
exactly.
All right. And then there's job enrichment,
Yes.
which is about adding more responsibilities
Yes.
and opportunities for growth.
Exactly.
So it's about giving you more ownership over your work,
Yeah.
allowing you to make decisions,
Uh-huh.
solve problems, and contribute your ideas.
Exactly. It's like taking your job to the next level.
So instead of just following instructions,
Mhm.
you're actually encouraged to think critically and be proactive.
Exactly.
Okay, that sounds way more motivating.
Right. And it ties back to, what we talked about earlier with talent management. Companies want to invest in their employees and help them grow.
Speaking of growth,
Yeah.
one of the things I'm realizing, especially as I'm learning more about this,
Mm-hmm.
is that, finding a good work-life balance is so essential.
It is.
It's not just about working hard. It's about having a life outside of work, too.
Absolutely. It's a topic that's becoming increasingly important, and for good reason.
Yeah.
Companies are realizing that, burned out employees are good for nobody.
Right.
They're less productive, they're less engaged,
Mhm.
and they're more likely to make mistakes.
So what are companies actually doing to help employees achieve this work-life balance?
Right. So our textbook talks about, some pretty cool alternative work arrangements that are
Right.
becoming more and more common. Things like flex time, compressed work weeks, job sharing, and telecommuting.
So imagine having the flexibility to set your own hours
Right.
or work a 4-day work week
Yeah.
or even work from home in your pajamas.
Exactly. It's about giving employees more control over their schedules and their work environments,
Yeah.
which can make a huge difference in their overall well-being.
But aren't there some downsides to working from home?
Yeah.
Like distractions and, maybe it's hard to stay motivated.
Sure, those are definitely valid concerns, and not everyone thrives in, a remote work environment. Some people need that structure and that social interaction of, a traditional office setting.
Right.
It really just depends on your personality and your work style.
So it's about finding what works best for you and, having open communication with your employer about your needs.
It's exactly.
Our professor also mentioned that, single employees sometimes face unique challenges when it comes to work-life balance.
They do. It's an important point. And, they often don't have the same support system at home that people with families do.
Right.
So they might not have someone to pick up the slack, when work demands increase or last-minute changes occur.
So it's about creating a workplace that's supportive of all employees.
Yeah.
Regardless of their, family situation.
Absolutely.
Okay. So let's get down to brass tacks here.
All right.
We've talked about the importance of a positive work environment, all these cool perks, but at the end of the day, we need to get paid.
We do need to get paid.
So what are the different ways that companies compensate their employees?
Right. So it's not just about the number on your paycheck.
Okay.
It's about understanding the whole compensation package, which can include a variety of different components.
Like what? Give us the breakdown.
Okay. So you've got your basic wages and salaries, which are typically paid hourly or annually.
Okay.
Then you've got piecework, where you get paid based on the amount of work you produce. And then there are commissions where you earn a percentage of the sales that you make. And let's not forget about incentive programs, things like bonuses, profit-sharing plans, and stock options.
Okay. That's a lot.
It is a lot.
Could you give us some real-world examples of how these different compensation models work?
Sure. So imagine you're working in a crab processing plant.
Okay.
and you might get paid based on the amount of crab meat you pick,
Ah.
which is a classic example of a piecework system.
So the faster you pick, the more you earn.
Exactly. But, it's important for those systems to be fair and transparent. You don't want people cutting corners or sacrificing quality just to boost their earnings.
Of course.
Then on the other end of the spectrum, you have companies like
Uh-huh.
Starbucks that are known for offering, very generous benefits packages even to part-time employees.
Yeah, I've heard they even offer health insurance to their part-time baristas.
That's right. And they also have a stock option program, which allows employees to buy shares of the company's stock at a discounted price.
Oh, that's cool.
It's a way for them to share in the company's success and build wealth over time.
Stock options sound interesting, but I have to admit I'm a little fuzzy on how they actually work.
Sure. So a stock option gives you the right but not the obligation to buy a certain number of shares
Okay.
of the company's stock at a predetermined price.
Huh.
And that price is called the strike price
Okay.
within a certain time frame.
Right.
So if the stock price goes up, you can exercise your option. You buy the stock at that lower price,
Okay.
and then you can sell it for a profit.
So it's kind of like a bet on the company's future success.
In a way, yes.
Yeah.
But it's important to remember that stock options are not a guaranteed windfall.
Right.
If that stock price goes down, your options might be worthless.
Yeah.
And there are also tax implications to consider.
Okay.
So it's important to, do your research and understand those risks and rewards before you get too excited about stock options.
Good to know. So we've talked about finding the right job, getting trained, finding that work-life balance sweet spot, understanding, how we get paid.
Yeah.
But what about performance reviews?
Yes.
Are they really as scary as everyone makes them out to be?
Well, performance appraisals are a necessary part of any job.
Yeah.
But they don't have to be dreadful. When done well, they're an opportunity for you to get feedback on your work.
Okay.
Identify areas for improvement, set goals for the future.
Okay.
So it's a chance to have an open and honest conversation with your manager about your performance and your career development.
And our professor really emphasized, setting clear expectations from the get-go
Yeah.
and having regular check-ins throughout the year, not just waiting for that annual review.
Absolutely. Ongoing feedback is crucial for both the employee and the manager.
Okay.
It helps to address issues early on,
Right.
provide opportunities for course correction, and really foster a culture of continuous improvement.
So your manager should be like a mentor, not just a judge.
Exactly. Providing guidance and support to help you succeed.
One of the things that intrigued me in our readings was this concept of 360-degree feedback.
Oh, yeah.
Can you explain that a little bit more?
Sure. So, traditional performance reviews typically just involve your direct manager evaluating your work.
Right.
But with 360-degree feedback, you get input from a wider range of people you work with.
Okay.
So that could be your peers, your subordinates, even clients or customers.
So it's like getting a more holistic view of your performance,
Exactly.
not just from your boss's perspective.
Exactly. It can be, a little nerve-wracking to get feedback from so many different sources, but it can also be incredibly valuable. It helps you to identify your blind spots.
Okay.
Understand how your actions impact others and get a more well-rounded view of your strengths and weaknesses.
So it promotes greater accountability and self-awareness.
Absolutely.
But, let's face it, not all jobs are meant to last forever.
Right.
Sometimes things just don't work out.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the T word, termination.
Okay. The dreaded T word.
Yeah.
All right. So, termination can be voluntary, where the employee chooses to leave the company,
Right.
or involuntary,
Right.
where the employer decides to end the employment relationship.
Okay. And our textbook mentioned this employment at will doctrine.
Yes.
Can you explain what exactly that means?
Sure. So the employment at will doctrine basically means that either the employer or the employee can terminate the employment relationship at any time.
Wow.
With or without cause.
Really?
As long as it's not for an illegal reason.
Okay, so theoretically I could get fired for wearing mismatched socks?
Technically, yes, as long as there's no company policy prohibiting mismatched socks.
Right.
And it's not being used as, a pretext for discrimination.
Okay.
But there are exceptions to the at-will doctrine, such as employment contracts, union agreements, and laws prohibiting, discriminatory terminations.
So it's not just a free-for-all for employers.
Right. They still have to operate within the bounds of the law.
This has been super informative, but before we wrap up, I have to ask about something that terrifies, I think, every college student.
Uh-oh, what's that?
Behavioral interview questions.
Ah, yes, the dreaded behavioral interview questions.
Yeah, those questions that start with like, tell me about a time when, and you just start sweating bullets trying to come up with a compelling story.
I know, but they're not as scary as they seem.
Okay.
The key to answering those questions is preparation.
All right, so how do we prepare for these interview curveballs?
Well, think back on your past experiences, internships, part-time jobs, volunteer work, even school projects.
Okay.
And identify situations where you faced challenges, overcame obstacles, demonstrated leadership or made a significant contribution.
So it's like having a mental library of stories that we can draw from.
Exactly. And once you have a few good stories, practice telling them in a clear and concise way.
Uh-huh.
And a helpful framework is the STAR method.
STAR.
Yeah, situation, task, action, result.
Okay.
It helps you to structure your response and make sure that you're hitting all the key points.
So instead of just rambling on and on,
yeah,
we need to be strategic about how we present our experiences.
Exactly. And remember, the interview process is a two-way street.
Right.
It's an opportunity for you to assess whether the company is a good fit for you as well.
So we're not just trying to impress them.
Right.
We're also trying to figure out if we'd want to work there.
Exactly. Don't be afraid to ask questions, about the company culture, the team dynamics, the opportunities for growth and development, and anything else that's important to you.
Yeah.
The more you know about the company, the better equipped you'll be to make an informed decision.
This has been like a crash course in all things HR.
It has.
And I feel like I've learned so much already.
I'm glad.
But there's still so much more to uncover, right?
Oh, absolutely. We've only just scratched the surface. In the next part of our deep dive, we'll delve into some of the more nuanced aspects of HR, including performance management, employee engagement, and the ever-evolving role of technology in the workplace. So stay tuned.
Can't wait. All right, so we covered a lot, from landing that dream job to understanding compensation and benefits.
Yeah.
But what happens when a company needs to let someone go?
Right.
Is it always this dramatic, you're fired moment like in the movies?
Well, thankfully, most terminations are a bit more civilized than that.
Okay, good.
As we discussed, there are those two main types of termination, voluntary and involuntary.
Right.
Voluntary is pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
It's when the employee decides to leave the company for whatever reason.
Okay.
A new opportunity, retirement, just a change of pace.
So that's when you put in your 2 weeks notice and hopefully leave on good terms.
Exactly.
What about involuntary termination?
Okay.
What are some reasons why an employer might decide to let someone go?
Well, there are a lot of reasons, but some of the most common include, poor performance, violation of company policies, sometimes downsizing or restructuring.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's simply a matter of, a mismatch between the employee's skills and the company's needs.
Okay, so let's say an employee is consistently underperforming.
Right.
What steps would a company typically take before resorting to termination?
Well, in an ideal world, there would be a clear performance improvement plan in place.
Okay.
And the manager would work with the employee to identify, areas for improvement, set specific goals, and provide the necessary support and resources to help the employee get back on track.
So it's not just a matter of you're not doing well, shape up or ship out. There's a process.
It is.
To try and salvage the situation.
Exactly. And documentation is key throughout this entire process.
Okay.
So the manager needs to keep detailed records of the employee's performance, the goals that were set, the feedback that was given, and the employee's response to the feedback. And this documentation protects both the employer and the employee in case any legal issues arise.
Yeah, it creates a paper trail, so there's no ambiguity about, what happened.
Exactly.
But let's say despite the best efforts of both the manager and the employee, things just aren't improving. What happens then?
Well, at that point, the employer may decide to terminate the employment relationship.
Yeah, okay.
But even then, there are legal considerations and best practices to follow.
Right.
So the employer needs to make sure that the termination isn't discriminatory or retaliatory, and that they're providing the employee with the appropriate notice or severance pay, if applicable.
So even in the unfortunate event of termination, there's a right way and a wrong way to handle it.
Absolutely. And it's in everyone's best interest to make the process as smooth and respectful as possible.
Shifting gears a bit, I want to learn more about performance management in general.
Okay.
It seems like it's about more than just, annual reviews and potential terminations.
Performance management is an ongoing process that involves, setting clear expectations, providing regular feedback, and creating opportunities for growth and development.
Okay.
It's about aligning individual goals with organizational goals and, creating a culture of continuous improvement.
Our professor actually mentioned something called the feedback sandwich,
Oh, yeah.
which sounds kind of funny, but I guess it makes sense in this context.
It does. The feedback sandwich is a common technique,
Okay.
though it does have its critics.
Uh-huh.
It basically involves sandwiching constructive criticism between two pieces of positive feedback.
So you start by saying something nice.
Yeah.
Then you deliver the tough feedback.
Right.
And then you end on another positive note.
Exactly. The idea is to soften the blow of the criticism and make the employee more receptive to the feedback.
Okay.
However, some people argue that it can make the feedback seem insincere or that it dilutes the impact of the criticism.
I can see that it's like trying to hide a bitter pill in a spoonful of sugar.
Right.
But isn't the most important thing that the feedback is clear, specific, and actionable?
Absolutely. Whether you're using the feedback sandwich or a more direct approach, the key is to focus on specific behaviors and outcomes,
Okay.
provide concrete examples, and offer suggestions for improvement.
So it's not just about saying you need to be more proactive.
Right.
It's about saying in that last meeting, you could have taken the initiative to share your ideas about the marketing campaign.
Exactly. The more specific you are, the more helpful the feedback will be.
Okay.
And remember, feedback is a two-way street.
Uh-huh.
Employees should also feel comfortable providing feedback to their managers,
Okay.
whether it's about, their leadership style, the work environment, or anything else that's impacting their performance.
It sounds like open communication is key to creating a healthy and productive work environment.
It is.
But what about employee engagement?
Okay.
I've heard that term thrown around a lot.
Yeah.
I'm not entirely sure what it means.
Yeah. So employee engagement is basically, the level of enthusiasm, dedication, and commitment an employee has
Right.
for their work and the company.
Okay.
So engaged employees are passionate about their jobs, they go the extra mile, and they're invested in the company's success.
So it's not just about showing up and doing the bare minimum.
Right.
It's about feeling connected to the company's mission and being excited about the work you're doing.
Exactly. And engaged employees are good for business.
Okay.
They're more productive, they provide better customer service, and they're less likely to leave the company.
That makes sense, but how do companies actually foster employee engagement?
Right.
Is it all about those fancy perks and ping pong tables?
Well, perks can definitely play a role, but it's not the whole story.
Okay.
Creating a culture of recognition and appreciation is crucial.
Uh-huh.
Employees need to feel valued and respected for their contributions.
So it's not just about getting a paycheck.
No,
It's about getting a pat on the back every now and then.
exactly. And it doesn't have to be anything grand. A simple thank you or a shout out in a team meeting can go a long way.
Okay.
Another key driver of engagement is, providing opportunities for growth and development.
Yeah.
Employees want to feel like they're learning new skills, taking on new challenges, and, advancing in their careers.
Definitely. I'm much more motivated when I feel like I'm learning and growing,
Right.
not just going through the motions.
Exactly.
What about the role of technology in the workplace?
Okay.
It seems like everything is becoming more automated and digitized these days.
It is.
How is that impacting HR and the employee experience?
Well, technology is transforming the workplace in some really profound ways. And HR is no exception.
Okay.
So we're seeing a rise in, these HR tech solutions
Yeah.
that are automating tasks, streamlining processes, and providing data-driven insights.
Could you give us some examples of how technology is being used in HR?
Sure. So applicant tracking systems are helping companies to manage the recruitment process more efficiently. Performance management software is providing tools for tracking goals, providing feedback, conducting performance reviews.
Okay.
And learning management systems are making it easier to deliver and track employee training.
So it sounds like technology is freeing up HR professionals to focus on, more strategic initiatives.
Yeah.
Like talent management and employee engagement.
Exactly. And it's also creating new opportunities for employees to access information, connect with colleagues, and manage their own careers.
Okay.
But it's important to remember that technology is a tool.
Right.
Not a magic bullet.
Hmm.
It needs to be used thoughtfully and strategically to enhance the employee experience,
Yeah.
not to replace human interaction and connection.
Okay, so technology could be a powerful ally for both HR and employees,
Yeah.
but it's important to use it wisely.
Absolutely.
What else do we need to know about the future of work?
Well, the workplace is constantly evolving,
Yeah.
driven by factors like globalization, technological advancements, and, changing demographics. One of the biggest trends that we're seeing is the rise of the gig economy.
So more and more people are choosing to work as freelancers and independent contractors, gig workers.
Exactly. And this shift has implications for everything,
Wow.
from how we recruit and manage talent to how we provide benefits and ensure workplace safety.
So the traditional 9-to-5 job might be becoming a thing of the past.
Well, not entirely, but it's certainly not the only option anymore.
Okay.
We're also seeing a growing emphasis on work-life integration,
Okay.
which is a bit different from work-life balance.
Uh-huh.
It's about blurring those lines between work and personal life,
Okay.
using technology to stay connected and productive from anywhere at any time.
So acknowledging that work is a part of our lives,
Right.
but it's not the only part.
Exactly. And it's about finding ways to seamlessly integrate our work and personal lives in a way that works for us.
It sounds like the future of work is all about flexibility, adaptability, and embracing these new ways of working.
It is absolutely. And as you embark on your careers, it's important to be aware of these trends. Stay curious and be open to new possibilities.
It's so interesting to think about how much the workplace is changing and how that affects both the employers and employees.
Yeah.
But before we finish our deep dive into HR,
Yeah.
I want to go back to something you said before about companies hiring for attitude and then training for skill.
Right.
Can you talk more about that?
Sure.
What does that actually look like?
Well, it's kind of a philosophy that says some things are harder to teach than others,
Huh.
Technical skills, you can teach those.
Yeah.
But things like work ethic, attitude, and personality are more like who you are.
Right.
So when companies focus on hiring for attitude, they're looking for people who are eager to learn, who are team players, who have a positive outlook and who really fit the company culture.
So you're saying that someone might not have every technical skill in the job description,
Right.
but they could still be a great hire
Exactly.
if they have the right attitude and willingness to learn.
Exactly. So let's say you're hiring for a sales position.
Okay.
You have two candidates.
Mm-hmm.
One has tons of experience and a great track record,
Right.
but they have kind of a know-it-all attitude and they don't take feedback well.
All right.
The other candidate is new out of college, very little experience,
Wow.
but they are so eager to learn. They're a great communicator and they are passionate about the company's products.
Okay, so in that case, the person with less experience might actually be a better hire in the long run
Yes,
because they have that good attitude and that potential for growth.
exactly. And that's why it's so important as you're all starting your careers
Yeah.
to really show off those soft skills, that positive attitude and that eagerness to learn.
Uh-huh.
Those things can often be way more important than not having all the technical skills,
Especially when you're just starting out.
especially in those entry-level positions.
That is encouraging to hear.
Yeah.
So how do we show off those soft skills during an interview?
Well, it's all about how you present yourself, how you communicate, and how you tell your story.
Uh-huh.
Be enthusiastic, be engaging, be prepared to share those times where you really showed those soft skills. Whether it's through teamwork, leadership, problem solving, or just, going above and beyond.
So it's not just reading off our resume. It's about, making our experiences come alive.
Right.
Showing our personality.
Exactly. Let that passion shine through. Let your personality shine through. And let the interviewer see that you're not just a list of skills on a piece of paper.
Yeah.
You're a real person with the potential to really contribute to their company.
This has been such a helpful look into HR.
Yeah.
I feel like I understand not just, the technical parts of it, but also like the human element of it all.
Right.
Do you have any final bits of wisdom for us
Yeah, I do.
as we get ready to head out into the world of work?
Okay, so embrace the change, stay curious, never stop learning and growing. And most importantly, remember that you have the power to shape the future of work. Be a force for good, be an advocate for fairness, equity, and inclusion,
Yeah.
and create that kind of workplace where you and everyone around you can thrive.
That's inspiring. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into HR.
My pleasure.
Until next time, keep those resumes polished and those networking skills sharp.